silenced. If you need to take a call, please step out in the hallway. If there's anyone for public comment, 5 minutes name and address, and roll call.
Bartelt.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Millet.
Here.
Mugrauer. Franz. Hudak.
All right. Any comments, questions, concerns with the September 11th minutes? No. Do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any citizen statements? Okay, no old business. All right, new business, update on the Pratt Trail reconstruction project. Where do you want to get on?
Yep. So what we wanted to do, because I'm sure that all of you have heard and seen things on the news, local news about the Pratt Trail project, and with that roadway going to be closed for the entire winter, we felt that it might be good for Jennifer Haas she's the director of the Archaeological Research Laboratory Center with UW Milwaukee. She is here this evening to kind of give you a little background on the project, how we worked with Jennifer and her team early on, what they're currently exploring and what they're doing, and then going forward, the progress going forward. So I asked her if she could come in and just answer any questions you might have, but also give just a little background on the project and how extensively they've been involved. So Jennifer, could I have you just grab up that podium? That'd be good. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here. I thought I would just give a little bit of background on the project and kind of how we got, involved in the project, and then I can always answer questions. And sorry for not putting any maps or exhibits up, but we began our involvement in the project in the early part of this year. So as part of the planning process, we were contacted by the city to look at the archaeological sites that may be impacted by the Pratt Trail project. And a lot of the archaeology work that we do with our program, it's for compliance. So to make sure that the city was in compliance with state and federal laws that protect cultural resources. And for the Pratt Trail project, we knew that the project would need a permit from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and part of that permit action then triggered compliance with our state's law that protect cultural resources. So some of the work that we did early on was to look at what archaeological sites could potentially be impacted by the project. And we do that by looking at what known sites are out there and then also through field work. Some of the background research that we did early on for the project, we did identify several archaeological sites that were known for the project area in general, so kind of throughout the entire area of Menominee Park. Some of the sites it's basically the entire park area is one large archaeological site, but there are several different ones documented that kind of overlap. And some of those sites were documented in the early 1990s by the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. In fact, in the early 2000s, they had a field school out in Menominee Park, right along lakeshore there. So we knew kind of just from the background research, the kind of desktop review, that there were documented archaeological sites out there relating to the Native American occupation of the areas. And then when kind of the next step early again in the spring was to see if there were any physical remnants of the archaeological sites coincident with the trail project. And to do that, we did field work. So you go out and along the either side of the roadway, we dug small pits. We screened the sediment through hardware mesh, and we looked for cultural items and artifacts. And when we did that along either side of the road, we did in fact identify cultural items coming from the sediments beneath a fill deposit. So we were fairly confident that the cultural deposits and archaeological site would extend under the road. So you had a fill deposit, intact soil, and in that intact soil, we were getting cultural items next to the road. Of course, we wouldn't know for sure until the road work began. So once we identified that there were cultural items along either side of the road with the likelihood going under the road, we worked with our regulatory agencies, so the Wisconsin Historical Society, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and we came up with a plan to address the situation if we did identify intact deposits beneath the road. And that plan was also, developed in consultation with tribal nations. What that plan called for was an archaeologist to monitor the removal of the sediments from the roadbed down to that contact with the intact soil, and then documentation and mapping of cultural deposits. And what we're looking for at that contact zone, it's what archaeologists call cultural features. So that's really just some remnant of past, activity. So it could be a house remnant, it could be a cooking pit or a hearth. Through the consultation efforts and with our, regulatory agencies and tribal nations and with the city, the best course of action that we, agreed upon early on was to the greatest extent possible, preserve in place the archaeological features that were beneath the road. So that would entail documentation, so we're doing mapping of those cultural features and then working with the city to minimize impacts through minimizing the overall depth of the road that needs to go, the excavation for the road. So that is what has been happening since August. When the road work began. The road work has removed the lake side of the road, and we have found cultural deposits underneath the road, many cultural features. We are wrapping up documentation of those cultural features on the lake side of the road, and then we'll address the other side of the road in the spring. And with that, I kind of really covered a lot. I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
If I can just, I'll add for the board and for the public, because we've got questions from the general public on, why didn't we plan for this so that the celebration of lights and other winter events could take place there. We actually were planning for this project to start in mid-April, and it was scheduled to be done by the second week of June. But the further we worked with Jennifer and her team and found the extent of some of the history that we need to worry about, that we started having discussions with Jennifer and her team as well as the contractor, and decided that it was best for us to push off the start of the project till August and try to have it completed by mid-October, again dependent on what we were finding once we removed the roadway. So once we got into it, and like Jennifer said, the extent of the artifacts that are being found, it obviously necessitated us to work with Celebration of Lights to find an alternate location or let them know that they'd have to work on. So that's kind of just a little history. It was planned for the spring, early summer, but here's where we're at. So.
What type of artifacts are you finding? Like ceramic bowls or
Yes.
like?
Excellent question. So the site itself, we know, is a Native American village occupied probably between AD 900 to maybe as late as 1400. So we're finding those everyday objects from village life. So fragments of earthenware ceramic bowls, stone tools, stone flakes from the manufacture of stone tools, animal bone, and then those cultural features.
And larger in scope than you expected?
I would say not. I mean, I think we were planning for, we had a fairly good idea of what would be underneath the road.
So I've heard that the plan then is just to leave them there, like not dig it up for museums or anything like that, but just pave over it?
Well, document, so we know what is there, and then, yes, put the road back over it. And that was a decision made in consultation with the, regulatory agencies, as well as, tribal nations.
What is the timeline looking like now? How long of a process do you anticipate, or is that even able to be estimated right now?
Well, there's an easy answer and a harder answer. So the easy answer is we are going to wrap up for the field season because we're getting to the beginning of winter, and then we'll sit down again with the regulatory agencies in the city, go through the findings, and then we'll probably talk with the city a little bit more about the plan for the other side of the road, using what we found on the lakeside to inform on maybe some design tweaks on the other side.
And is there any thought of going out farther than just the road?
Not at this time. I mean, the site is probably almost certainly throughout most of the park area. So we'll really want to minimize, at least related to the roadway project, the overall footprint. So.
And how were you able to date it? By how
Yeah,
deep
that's-
it was buried, or?
That's a really good question. So we're using artifact types to get a relative date. So by the types of ceramic vessels that we're finding, those earthenware jars that we're getting fragments of, there's certain stylistic elements on those jars that were in use over a certain period of time, and that's how we are getting the date range for the site.
To try to address a little bit of Lauren's question on timeframe. Obviously, our city engineers have been involved with this project from the start. They've been helping with the design, as well as we're meeting and discussing options now for, as Jennifer said, the side of the road away from the water. But what we're looking to do is come up with some plans, design those plans over the next couple of weeks, couple months, so that we're prepared going into the spring, so that once we can get in there for paving and any other work that Jennifer and her team may need to do in the spring, so that we can hopefully get in there and get the road paved sometime during the spring. Again, it's all weather dependent and conditions and so forth. So we have already, from our department, contacted anybody that has some of the shelters reserved out there, just letting them know, just a heads up that we can't say that it's going to be accessible at this point because, once we get into spring, we're unsure of the conditions. So we gave them a heads up that they can hold on and wait until spring until we might have a better idea, or that they might want to start looking for alternatives for their plans. So we've already given them notice too. So. Anything else for Jennifer?
Oh, thank you. Very informative.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Discuss the fish sticks installation.
All right, we have another guest this evening. So this project, and I think some of you were on the board a couple years back when the DNR came forward and requested permission to install some fish sticks habitat, I'll call it, basically along Lake Butamore, the river system along the Wheelwash Trail by Riverside Park. And what we did was had a presentation and got some information about what the project was, and we ultimately did go ahead and work with the DNR to do that project. They took a look at their plan for fishing habitat in the area, and they did come back to us and request another couple options. So at this time, they're looking at a couple places in Miller's Bay to be able to put some more of the fish sticks. And we have Angelo with the Wisconsin DNR, who's going to talk to us about what the fish sticks program is again. Maybe you can touch a little bit on how you're looking throughout the system and doing these throughout the system, and why you guys, where you're looking to do here at Miller's Bay and so forth. So if you want to take it from there, Angelo.
Sounds good. So, yeah, again, my name is Angelo Cazzola. I am one of the fisheries biologists for the Wisconsin DNR based out of the Oshkosh office. And today I'm here to talk to you guys about the fish sticks projects that are proposed kind of all around the system, but specifically for the ones in Miller's Bay over by Menominee Park. So I just heard that you guys have received information on this before, but I'll kind of just go from a understanding of no one knows anything, just to kind of cover all the basics. So looking at the screen right there, those are very recent pictures. Those fish stick installations went in about 3 weeks ago now. So those are right at the site that Ray just referenced across from Rainbow Park off the state trail there, right by the cemetery. And essentially what these projects are doing is introducing coarse woody habitat to the shallow areas of the lake to promote structure in the water, attract fish, other wildlife, birds, reptiles, amphibians, things like that. So quick introduction here. So essentially in water, woody habitat is beneficial to fish and wildlife, provides structure, spawning and refuge habitat, sunning and resting areas for amphibians, reptiles, and birds. Then just in general, all over the Winnebago system and a lot of other waters around the state, shoreline development and water level management has reduced the presence of natural woody shoreline, which otherwise would be a very natural occurrence. And the installment of water the installment of woody habitat in water aids in the restoration of our waterways. So getting into the methodology behind the fish stick installments, here's some recent pictures from our work days out by the state trail by the cemetery there. The trees are at this site were dropped just from shore, and then they are anchored in place with cable, earth anchors. We use some gas-powered or hydraulic pounders to really drive them into the sediments there, make sure that they are anchored down well just for persistence in that space. On the system here, probably more so than others, you do deal with more wind and wave action as well as ice action that can come in and kind of break these up. So yeah, they're drilled through and then anchored to the bottom so that they stay where they are. In addition to the fish stick structures themselves, we are also partnered with Fox Wolf for the purchase of educational signs to be installed near fish stick sites. So here's the kind of post design of what the stuff we have ordered looks like. So, standing right next to one of the fish stick structures and having this is the actual sign printout. This is a draft. It might change a little bit, but essentially covering all of the benefits of these fish stick installations. So really good public outreach and education tool. These projects don't just happen around the Winnebago system. They're very popular in smaller inland lakes in the northern region of the state as well. In addition to all of the benefits for the fish, it's also good for shoreline erosion, and many anglers are already well aware that fish like structure. People that are fishing, will target structure. So these the introduction of this structure to shoreline does provide a nice shoreline fishing opportunity, especially for those anglers who don't have boats to get out on the main lake and target from shore. So basic objectives of the project: provide habitat for fish and wildlife, increase shoreline protection as well as projection into like off the shore, providing that angling opportunity. And that was pretty much all I had for background on the project. So if anyone has any questions on specifics, we can get into that too. But just want to go over the previous project sites, the most recent one here being we call Riverside location. So there's this one down there. Here are some pictures on the ice of our fish sticks at Asylum Bay. So these went in, I believe, in 2019, and they're actually holding up quite nice in most of the sites, and some of the other areas that are more exposed to the bay, definitely a little bit of breaking up. But even if that section of the tree that's dropped above the ice breaks off, it usually still does persist below the water line and still provides that habitat structure there. Another site, here's Arrowhead Park. Sorry, these pictures aren't really great or anything, but kind of just gives you the idea of what these look like, you know, far after those trees are cut down and all the leaves fall off. You know, they're essentially dead trees sitting anchored to the lake bed. So for future projects, we have a rather large grant from NRDA for the work done on these projects, kind of under the narrative of the restoration aspect of it. So here are all the locations that we currently have selected, and again, these are potential locations. There's probably going to be some added to this after we finish these ones. There's probably going to be some more in that grant left to do some additional work. But yeah, here you can see Sunset Bay, Menominee Park, the Lower Wolf River, and then Tallulah Park, if I'm saying that right, hopefully. Sammers Bay and Terrell's Island have been another one that we're thinking about. And here are the potential sites for the Menominee Park location. So you guys can see all of the red dots there. Those are the proposed potential areas. I have been out to this site. The supply for trees to be dropped right in place and set in the water is kind of low on the break wall and that northern shoreline there. However, the idea would be kind of that second bullet there, utilizing trees from Monkey Island and city ash tree removals. I've been in a little bit of preliminary talks with Travis, if anyone's familiar, about potentially getting some of those trees utilized, but my plan would be to do a winter installation, essentially remove trees from Monkey Island there, then use some equipment that we have. We have a nice side-by-side on tracks that we would drag the trees across the ice with, kind of position them how we want to, drill holes, and actually set the anchors on the ice. It actually creates a kind of nice working environment for us comparatively to open water conditions. So still working on some permitting and shoreland zoning and stuff to do with that. Does require a Chapter 30 fish habitat permit, as well as Army Corps. But I think that is essentially all I had for you guys. I'll take any questions. And again, here's just that public education piece right here, that sign that we worked with Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance to design. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Well, the two that are on the end of Monkey Island in the, where the boats go, I mean, at night, are boats going to be able to see?
Yeah, and there would be concern for that, you know, these structures going into areas that are highly navigated, areas such as Miller's Bay here. So these are most definitely potential sites. If there were some trees here that we felt could be dropped and not impact the navigability of this channel here, like it would be, like we'll be cautious for sure, kind of like riding that line, and those decisions will be made kind of like on site while we're there. But all of those sites will definitely be up to discussion with the city when we're actually like going and picking these out. Prior to the Riverside site that we just did 3 weeks ago, I walked the entire trail with Travis and basically told him all the trees we wanted to drop down, and he, you know, gave the okay or no. Essentially, there were some culverts that we didn't want clogging up, which we probably would have saw anyway, but that was just one thing he pointed out to us.
Some of the other locations that you're looking at outside of Oshkosh, have you met with those communities and talked to them already?
The ones in the Lower Wolf River have been discussed a little bit with the Lake Boygan Sportsman's Club, not so much. But the way each one of these projects requires its own permit and kind of all this work behind the scenes to get done. So the way I've been kind of addressing them is taking them one at a time, so I don't have like 4 permits to work on at once. So Menominee Park was the next one that I was going for here. We're kind of aiming to do one of these projects a year, and kind of that's pretty much the timeline.
Well, it seems the other projects you've done have been successful and not in the way of any boat traffic, and it's something that helps the lake healthier and gets fish, and it's got positives on all sides. All I can see is, as Becky said, any problem with boat traffic, and I don't think where those are looking, you're close enough to the shore that people should see them, so I'm in favor. Unless there's something I'm missing that the city's seeing, I'm in favor, so.
No, this is our second go-around with Angelo and his team on some of the locations, and I like the ones off of Ames Point. I think that's a really nice accessible way for, again, individuals that don't have access to a boat, and providing that fishing structure out there.
For your line to get caught in.
I do think it's important to have the signs there too, so people know
Yeah.
what it is actually, instead of it's just sloppy, they're letting trees fall into the lake. You know,
Well, that's
telling
what
them
I'm
the
wondering
actual
if the-
purpose of it, so.
Menominee Drive people are gonna think that, the people that have houses on Menominee Drive.
And my initial plan for the Menominee Park location here is going to probably be to start with just these ones along the break wall out to Ames Point here, and see where it goes from there. Just like the Riverside one, we started higher up, and now that we were comfortable with how those persisted, we moved a little bit further into we're not really properly into the Fox River channel there. We're kind of still in that backwater just before you hit Highway 41 there, if you're familiar. So yeah, we'll probably start there, and then it would be, I think when the permit is put out, it's good for 5 years, so we can, put some out, see how it goes, obviously talk to you guys before we do any future work, and yeah, kind of be very open communication here. Don't want to, put some trees in the water where you guys don't want them and have to go pull them out, so.
I don't have any concerns.
No, I think we looked at it, and I know Travis has been working along with Angelo as well, so I like the idea of giving it a try out on Ames Point there and see the results.
So are they all gonna be in towards the bay, or are some of them gonna be out on Winnebago?
They're probably gonna all be in towards the bay, and those 2 points that are on Monkey Island facing the lake, we could try them there, and we could try them on the lake side of Ames Point there, but I think the ice and wave action would probably eat them up pretty quick. So, I mean, all of them, no matter where they are, will be, over time dismantled just from, natural causes, but being in a more sheltered area will help them to persist longer.
A little fishing spot in there.
Are there other fishing clubs that you work with? I know you had mentioned the one.
Fishing clubs, I'm not sure if this is one of the grants that Battle on Bago is a partner of. I think it might be. Fox Wolf purchased like $6,000 worth of equipment for us. And then if we are to do that lower Fox River site, we're kind of hoping to partner with like Poygan Sportsman's Club. If we're to do the ones in Samers Bay and Terrell's Island, the Butamore Conservation Club has always been really good to work with. So kind of depending on where we're at is where we'll kind of, make contacts.
And when would you anticipate if we said go ahead and do it on Ames Point? When do you think that might take place?
I would attempt to potentially put some in this winter if I could get everything sorted out permitting wise, which wouldn't be that optimistic actually. I think just for the sites off of Ames Point, maybe like 5-6 installations right there. The thing that may hold it up, one is ice conditions. We need good ice conditions to be driving out there in our side-by-side. And then 2, I know Monkey Island is covered in trees, and I don't think there would be much preference to which trees we took off, because I don't think it would be noticeable, the amount of trees we were taking. We could space it out to make it look really not noticeable, but that's, again, like if I go out there with Travis and talk about it, all decisions made, together. But I guess there would be a chance that the trees on Monkey Island would be, too big or not suitable for whatever reason, and then trying to find a source of trees might, back it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you started there and, gave us an opportunity to see some of the results and what they might look like, just so we have a feel for that.
Yeah, I think right off of Ames Point right there, have some structures in with the sign that we showed earlier, I think would be great public outreach for the project and hopefully a success overall.
Something you're supportive of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We don't need a vote on it, it's just so I got a consensus here, because what Angela did, what they do then is complete the permit, and it actually comes to the city for sign, for
Yep.
signature typically, and the city manager typically will sign off on that.
You guys will be the actual applicant as the landowner, so I'll do all the kind of background work for it, but yeah, you're.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell everybody where you're going now?
The crew is currently out right now on Lake Butamore, shocking some walleye. We have about 8 sonic tags to
Oh, wow.
surgically implant into mature adult walleye. Hopefully 4 males, 4 females, if we can get lucky with our catch. And yeah, they're part of the Winnebago system walleye movement study that's going on.
Cool.
So, all the fish that get tagged tonight will be getting a $100 reward loop tag on them if anglers catch them. They get a $100 reward. We try to get that little black transmitter back, and that's actually where all the transmitters that we are putting out tonight came from. Anglers catching the fish and then giving us our tags back. So
Oh, wow.
It's not too cold or too windy tonight, so good luck.
yeah, that's why we picked tonight. Let's hope you get out of here soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Ray, you have the staff report.
Yes, all right. The first one, update on our Parks Administration Operations Building. We are fully moved in. The administrative staff, we moved in mid-September into the end of September, and then we actually started moving some of the field staff in early part of October. So we've been in there about a month and a half now. Things are going very well. We're still, with the field staff, still moving a lot of things from across the street at the DPW Field Ops Center. That's where they were located, along with a lot of the equipment. So it's going to be a work in progress as we continue to move equipment over. Obviously, we still have day-to-day operations that we need to take care of, the leaves and mowing up until last week, actually, yet. So it's something we'll be working on over the next number of months, of course. But what we're looking to do, we had originally talked about having a open house for the public, and as well as this board and Common Council. I think what we're going to do, just because we're getting so late in the year, is we'll maybe have just a ribbon cutting ceremony with some of the council members, the mayor, and we'll invite the Advisory Parks Board and so forth. And then maybe once we get into the spring, summer of next year, when we're all settled in and the weather's a little bit better, then we'd have some type of an open house for just the general public to come through. Right now, we're looking at sometime early December, most likely, and not knowing what the weather would be, I think it just makes more sense for us to get the ribbon cutting done and plan for an open house when it's a little more nicer outside. But, so we'll let you know about that. Lakeshore Park Four Seasons building. We are still working on some punch list items. There's a number of items, a little bit interior, as well as,
Not yet.
I need that map back up eventually. So there's some landscaping items they fell behind on, so there's going to be some landscaping that'll take place yet through the spring. But there is some internal building items that we are still working on as far as some punch list things. I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to be prepared to say that we'll start taking rental applications or rental requests for that facility. So just asking everybody to remain patient with us as we continue to work through some final punch list items there. The next one, update on Lakeshore Park West Trail and parking lot. So if you recall, this is really the western side of Lakeshore Park. And I don't know if you can see the mouse moving down here, but this is a parking lot that was in the conceptual plan. And as everybody knows, conceptual means it's not set in stone. It could move around. What we did was we actually removed the pole shed that was a storage shed for some of the golf course equipment. And we made this into the parking lot. And basically, we have the trail that goes parallel to Interstate 41, gets you connected down to our Lakeshore Trail, which obviously eventually gets down into the Riverwalk system, but it's also a nice link to the Tribal Heritage Trail. We see this parking lot acting as a trailhead parking lot. We are trying to keep people from parking much longer in the Two Brothers and La Quinta parking lots. And so we're that asphalting, that is completed. The parking lot was painted recently. I know there's some restoration of some of the areas around the parking lot that needs to be completed yet. But hopefully with this weather, they're able to get that done. The trail has been paved. And then, again, just conceptually, when the stormwater ponds were being renovated and stormwater management taking place for the Oshkosh Corp development, there was a road. It was kind of splitting the park right about here, and it came out into Rath Lane roughly about here. What we did is worked with our engineering division after they had the stormwater done. We decided to leave that road base in, and what we did was pave the trail on top of that. So it's really the trail going through the center of the park. So that trail has been paved now. We have our electric division, our lighting division is installing the lighting on both this section as well as the western section of the park. I'm not sure if they're going to get the lights activated before the winter months here, but at least we're getting the poles and everything installed. So it's really, continuing to move forward with the master plan for the park, getting some of those trails, getting those loops in through the system. So that's pretty exciting to see, in addition to the Four Seasons building that's taking place on the east side. So if you haven't been out there, take a look.
How many spots did you get for the lot?
I want to say we're at about 21 parking spots out there. So, and then the last one I wanted to update on is Rouge Park. And at Rouge Park, as you recall, as part of the CIP, we had included a trail connection from the Rouge Park Trail going to the west, basically from Traeger School out to the west. There's a condominium association, the Preserve on Sawyer Creek, that is out in that area, and those residents have been coming to us in the Common Council for the last couple of years during capital improvement time, asking for a trail connection to get their residents from their subdivision into our trail system through Rouge Park. One of the biggest concerns for them is along 20th Ave, there's really no good pedestrian access that's safe. And so as part of the budget for this year, the CIP included funding in there to get that trail connection done. I've been working with their condo association on an easement through some of their common area to get a trail connection up to the park. That project is actually going to the Common Council tomorrow night for consideration of awarding that bid. And then we're hoping to get some of that project started yet this fall. There's some work they can do over the winter. There's some boardwalk and some small bridge areas that we have to construct out there to get through some wetlands and over some of the small tributaries. But that project, if it gets awarded tomorrow night, you'll see some work beginning out there, working through the fall, winter, into the spring, and hopefully early next summer we can have that trail completed out there. So some of the big projects that we continue to work on. That's all I have. I don't know if there's any questions. I did let Travis and Chad and Jenny know that he didn't have to be here tonight, so I'm not reporting on everything they're doing, but obviously still plenty going on.
Thank you, Ray. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.